we have been hearing commentary regarding the Fed raising interest rates. We don't see that until at least next year, or we don't see it happening at all. The Fed has to keep interest rates at current levels and continue to increase money and credit. If they do this, interest rates will rise, bonds will fall, as well as the dollar, as gold and silver rise. If they raise interest rates, stocks will fall, bonds will rise, as will the dollar. But inflation will not decline because it's already in the system. Thus, gold and silver will rise. They will also continue to be more shocks to the market that will push gold and silver higher. And that's the way I see this thing going. We're in a horrible situation, and there's no answer for it other than letting deflationary depression take over and cleaning out the system. And that's why the Fed and the Treasury should have never bailed out 19 banks and brokerage houses and insurance companies and car companies. This is not communist Russia. Well, evidently the people who are in charge in Washington think it is. We should not be doing that, and it's just not this administration. The previous one was just as bad. They don't have any answers. I do. I told you what we had to do. Get rid of the Fed, put up tariffs. That's a good start. And then we can sort this thing out. We can have our depression. It'll last 2 or 3 years. It'll be over with. The only reason the last depression...
You would recommend that would happen, but the stipulation would be that we would also have a full audit on the Federal Reserve and possibly a total elimination. That would be the ultimate loss, or the ultimate gain of such a depression. Would it not be?
Well, it would be an introduction into what we have to do, because the Fed is the problem. It's caused every depression and every recession that we've had in 96 years. They did no better. In fact, they did worse than the U.S. Treasury did in the late 1800s. It was a grab for power. These people are thieves. They're crooks in $4,000 or $3,000 suits. Well-educated. Con men. I mean, look at this Madoff thing. $100 billion is missing and nobody knows where it is. Give me a break. It was all shipped via the New York Fed to offshore banking and to Israel. That's where it all went. And they know it. And they have a trial for Madoff and nobody can attend but the attorneys? Come on. Hundreds of people were involved in this scam. Not one security was ever bought. The SEC was in on it. They turned their back on it for 10 years. It's one of the biggest scams of all time.
Liz comes in and she says, Mr. Chapman, there's been 3 suicides of multimillionaires over the Madoff thing. My question today reverts back to how is the United States government demanding the dealers and investors to buy more debt as the U.S. Treasury seeks to fund the growing budget deficit? How are they able to threaten the dealers and the investors and make them buy more and more debt?
Well, you can ask this guy Lewis, who is still the CEO of Bank of America. And they told him in so many words that you either do this Merrill Lynch deal or we're going to replace you and replace your board, and we're going to destroy you. I mean, I've gone through this with these people. I live in another country because if they could find me, they'd kill me. Because I write about it, and I get all over the airways, all over the world, giving them a pain in the butt. And I'm sure I'm partially responsible for the success of this bill that's making its way through Congress. So I know what these people are up to.
One of the girls in Southern California comes in and she says here, Mr. Chairman, I work at an affluent bank here in San Diego. I just happened to be off today, and what you're telling the audience is rhyming very true with what I'm hearing at the bank. I also see a large number of lies going on here in San Diego where the banks are basically meeting in the back rooms. And what I'm saying, Mr. Chapman, I would lose my job, but the bottom line is there are men and women meeting behind closed doors who are holding back foreclosure papers on large amounts of property, more property in the $500,000 range to $1 million properties than those below, and it's having a disparagement on the real effects of foreclosures. I'm looking at my own tabulation at the bank I work at, and instead of the bank reporting 37 foreclosures, they only reported 7. These lies are going to come to roost at some time. How do you see this happening around the United States, and what is going to be the ramifications?
They're all doing it, and it's going to take out this fall in real estate to 2012 and maybe even longer before we hit bottom. And as you know, California had a moratorium, and now they're starting to hit. Because the moratorium's been lifted on the foreclosures. But this bank thing is going on all over the country. And what they're doing as well, let's say that you bought a house for $2 million, and you haven't paid the mortgage for 6 months because you lost your job. Let's say you were making $250,000 a year, which justified you being in that house. But you lost your job. They are not kicking the people out and selling the house. They're not even talking to the people. The people are still in the house. They're not paying anything on the mortgage. And they're going to continue to do that until the bank figures out what to do with all this property.
She comes back in, Mr. Chapman. She says you hit the nail on the head right there, because I know of two properties personally that are valued at over $600,000, and no one in the bank foreclosure department, not one lawyer, not one letter, not even a phone call to the owners of these two properties has been made, and they're already 5 months in the rears.
Yeah, so it's common, and it's going to become more and more common as people lose quality jobs, and there's no jobs for them. I mean, there just isn't any. I mean, even the auto workers who are making $30 an hour, most of them making, if they're lucky, they got a job, and they're making $12 to $15 an hour. Some of them making 10. Can you see the degeneration in what's going on in our country? And what's to blame? Well, certainly the problems in finance and economics and Wall Street, but free trade has ripped the heart right out of the United States. Free trade has destroyed our manufacturing industry. It was only 1980, 20% of what we did was in manufacturing. No, actually it was 28%. Now it's about 12, maybe 11. So you can see all we've done is ship our jobs to other countries. Why? So banks can make more money. So international conglomerates can manufacture outside the United States, ship their goods in, get paid, and hide their money offshore and not pay any taxes. And that's what's going on.
I have an IM from New Orleans, Louisiana. It says, Mr. Chapman, my son, who's a United States Marine, is making more money right now than I am. I'm 58 years old. Problem is, I just got laid off. My salary per year as an electronic engineer for a major corporation paid me $125,000. I've been out of employment now going on 3 months, and obviously there's nothing in the near future for me at 58 years old. Do you have any suggestions for a man 58 years old?
That's really hard, because if you're over 40, nobody wants you. And my advice to you is find some kind of a business you can start on your own, something consulting, something that you're familiar with, or that might be that you can use your knowledge in, but you're not gonna get a job from somebody else. I mean, you were too expensive to hire. They can hire kids, even though they're not as good as you, for $35,000 a year to do the same thing. Or they can bring in H-1Bs for another country who are experienced, and they'll pay them $50,000.